Yo, what's good everyone? It's Zigzag here. Welcome back to another Geoguessr video, and in today's video we are back catching more cheaters on the anti-cheat program. We're going to be watching a bunch of rounds from different players and seeing with the context we have if we think they're guilty, not guilty, or if there's insufficient evidence. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it, and I will say I have not been the most accurate in the past, so hopefully today I can improve my reputation in that regard. Anyway, first player is 1300 plus rated. It's no moving mode. Let's see what happens here. And so we have this round starting out. They take the 360 view. Everything looks good. Firstly, what I'll say is I really like the way the player is looking around. They're looking at relevant information instead of off in random places. So this immediately gives me the sense that it's at least a somewhat experienced player. And continuing on here, checks the car, checks the entire surroundings twice, okay, and we're about to come to the guess here, zooms in, and goes Tabasco on Veracruz. So if I just go back to the start of the clip, this is not the easiest Mexico round at first, but you do see this octagonal pole. I would say it's relatively obvious that this is octagonal. So 1300 plus, Mexico is the obvious choice here. There is nothing at all suspicious about this clip. I would think scripting and Googling are both off the table here. This seems like a perfectly legit clip. I'll submit that. Let me know in the comments what you think about that one. Let's head to the next case here. Again, no move. Again, 1300 plus rated. I think for 1300 plus, we're dealing with all the way up to 2000. So can be any skill level in there. We've got a very obvious Philippines here. So it'd take an extremely close guess here for me to have any level of suspicion, I think. But let's see what happens here. So looks around. Okay, the copyright is checked here. So probably a very high level player here. Philippines, the copyright can be useful. For example, 2022 is very common on the South Island of Mindanao. But anyway, we're checking the trees here. This looks like a Mindanao tree. This kind of wide canopy, potentially at least. Zooms look relatively normal here. Zooms in, does a middle click. This all looks good to me. Relatively close guess. Nothing to suspect, I would say here. Definitely not quite as normal of a zooming pattern as the last one, but the fact that they're checking copyright first, it definitely looks like the way a pro player would zoom in regardless. Probably just someone guessing really quickly, early multiplier, something like that. I would say not guilty here. I could see insufficient evidence as an option here, but to me, there's just not a shred of evidence here for cheating, so I'm just going to go with not guilty here and head through to the next case here. Let's see what we got. Hopefully something a bit different. We're back in 1300 plus, no moving, so the exact same thing here. Let's see if there's any suspicion here. Okay, we got tiled roofs here. We've got a pole top, which should lean us towards either East Java or Southern Sumatra. These palms here, they're Areca palms. They're more common in Sumatra, so we'll see. Looks good again here. The way they're zooming on relevant information is filling me with confidence that this is indeed a good player. Just more 360s. This is exactly what I'd be doing if I was in on the location. So yeah, I think everything is looking quite good here. A relatively quick guess in South Sumatra. Yeah, I think this makes sense. That pole top is particularly common in the south of Sumatra, and the landscape and everything makes it perfectly reasonable. Maybe this one is slightly more suspicious than the other ones. I'm just saying that because it's a better guess objectively. Like, Indonesia is a huge country and this is a very good guess. I mean, it's definitely not guilty for Googling. On scripting, I would say there's like less than 1% chance. So I'm tempted to just go for not guilty again. I could see insufficient evidences also legit here, but I'm just gonna say not guilty. I think it's a very high elo player. I think they've made a good guess. I personally believe that's what happened there. Just the way they're looking around being the big clue. I'm really glad we have that feature. But let's head through to the next one here because these have all been quick, and we're back in no moving, back in 1300 plus. I wonder, because I have a high rank on duels, if it's giving me higher ranked cases or if this is just the new normal. I don't know. But anyway, let's get into this here. Looks like it might be in Brazil, I think, but we shall see. Okay, so initial zooms here look good. 360, you normally expect to see that at the start of the round. Okay, they're zooming for relevant information here. This is looking good as well, by the way. Checking the landscape. Yeah, this is really good zooming. It's checking for an area code. In Brazil, the phone codes that you find written on things are really good for determining the region. In fact, it's probably the country where you get the best information from phone numbers. So this all looks really good to me so far. I expect a Google car check here now that there's not been any relevant information soon. If we don't see that, that's kind of interesting. Okay, zooms on Africa. Okay, they've plonked down, but they haven't guessed yet. They're plonked down really nearby. Still sussing it out here. Still checking for area codes. Not going to find that. Ends up switching the guess a few times. Goes for the guess. This one is similar to the last one for me. A very tiny chance of scripting, but the way that they were moving the marker around Northeast Brazil, clearly they had a good region guess there. Where they've clicked in Bahia is perfectly reasonable in my opinion. So to me, this just looks like a very normal hedge where they happen to get close and have been reported. But again, we're talking about in the champion division here. So To me, it's just not guilty again. I'm sorry. I could hit insufficient evidence, but I just don't believe that there's any cheating going on here at all. So I'm quite satisfied to go with that. Let's head through to the next case here. See what's happening. We're back in the exact same mode, would you believe it? And we're back in Northeast Brazil. That's quite a coincidence. But let's see what happens here. Okay, so firstly, the zooms look good. Checking out the landscape here. Again, this is exactly what I'd expect to be seeing. Okay, checking out the Google car and the copyright this time, which I also like to see. Definitely a sign of a legit player who's up in this rating range. And I'm really doubting we're going to be seeing anything too sus here, unless it's like less than a kilometer away. I just don't see how this can be suspicious. Okay, got the marker down in Pernambuco. Switching to the right area there. Guys, there is nothing wrong with this guess at all. In my opinion, I didn't see anything suspicious. Even if they plonked on the exact 5K, I would probably lean to the fact that they're just getting lucky. But in this case, there is nothing guilty going on in my opinion here, guys. Let me know if you're disagreeing with me. I don't know. Maybe you guys think so, but to me, they've all been legit so far. And we are staying in the same rating range. So I think they must have changed the algorithm with this, how it's decided. Maybe they are internally giving me a score right now as a reviewer. Who knows? Because they just added these cases back. Like there was a drought of cases for a long time, and now they're finally back. So I'm not really sure what's the deal, but let's head through to this next round. It's India, probably Maharashtra state. Okay, we have normal zooms. So what I was really looking for was like a really like quick guess without looking around or something like that. But again, all the zooms have been perfectly normal so far. Checks the pole, that's what I'd expect. Checks the other pole, that's very good. Checks the landscape, and is going to go Maharashtra here. Clicks middle of Maharashtra. You couldn't get more legit than this. This is just a good player. It's a very easy Maharashtra, by the way. This is exactly what Maharashtra looks like. Super typical landscape, and the poles also fit. So again, not guilty, not guilty. No question about it, in my opinion, on that one. Let's head through to the next case here. And we have a relatively tough southern Argentina. Again, the exact same rating range and mode. I'm wondering also if most of the reporting that happens in Geoguessr happens in these higher ranks. I don't know. Maybe, again, it's just because I'm a high rank myself that it's given me these ones. But because, to be honest, if I was 1,000 rating, it doesn't make sense for me to be reviewing people's games who are 1,900 rated or something. Anyway, let's see what this one looks like. Good zoom. Everything makes sense so far. Checking the Google car a lot. That is maybe more than I'd expect, but still perfectly reasonable. Checks the landscape here. It's going to be a very quick guess. Look at the scrub bar down the bottom here. Okay, so we see those mountain ranges. Okay, we finally have one that I could count as suspicious here. Now, this has potential still, in my opinion, to be a lucky plonk. Indeed, the way the player looked around here at the surroundings was perfectly normal. It's just the plonk that's a bit unreasonably close here, potentially. So what I'm going to do here, obviously Googling not guilty, that's an easy one. I think I'm going to leave scripting for insufficient, because not only was it a really quick guess, but they didn't even try and line up the hills at all, which is something you might want to do. That being said, I don't think it's the hardest round, so I would definitely still lean towards not guilty if I had to choose only between guilty and not guilty, but I think insufficient evidence is more appropriate for this one. Let me know what you think. It's not been the most interesting set of cases yet, I'll readily admit, but hopefully we get to some juicy ones soon. And finally we have a moving, so maybe we get some Google action here. That would be fun. Let's see. Okay, well, at least we are changing it up a bit here. The round starts off, so this is good. Okay, we have copyright checking immediately, just something that a lot of pros will do, even if it's not going to be that useful in a country like the US here. But definitely shows me that this is a more experienced player in all likelihood. If you want to fake and look legit, then you can do that. Please don't, but I'm just saying that probably would be pretty effective. Okay, let's see what happens here. Double checks copyright and is going to be moving down the road here. So let's see how the player gets to this information. I don't think this is too useful. Nothing that I recognize. Maybe James River is known. So let's see if this is an incredibly cracked guess, because I'm expecting maybe. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see if they Google here. If they sit staring at the sign for a long time, it's evidence of Googling. Okay, so they're zooming in and out. Everything looks fine here. Okay, they're passing the test. They're not looking at that information too long. And to be honest, it wasn't very useful anyway. So I do like that decision to just keep moving on. And they clicked near Sioux Falls here. So interesting about this one, guys, is that we have this diamond reflector here. The diamond reflector is easily most common in South Dakota and Montana. And with the red road, we could see here, this does seem like a legit guess in my opinion. The information here was all sufficient to get Southeast and South Dakota. Combine that with the fact that the player had very pro-looking movement and everything here, I'm gonna say not guilty. Googling and scripting would be on the table if I didn't think this was a very high skill player, or if we were below 1300 plus ranking, but I have a feeling this is a player playing above 1800 and they just know this one. So yeah, not guilties from me on this one. Let's head through to the next case here. And we're back on no moving. I would have some feedback about this. I would want to see at least 2 or 3 rounds of a particularly suspicious player, because on no moving, you can always get lucky with a super close plonk like we saw in Argentina. Okay, this is a very quick guess here and go straight into Antalya. Okay, this one is actually kind of suspicious, I would say. We see the landscape. It's not particularly obvious Antalya for me here. Just the way the whole landscape looks is, yeah, not just something I'm immediately associating with Antalya. Okay, so let's have a look here. Checks this way, zooms only slightly onto the buildings and everything, and goes straight for the plonk. Okay, this one is actually suspicious. Either it's a very good Turkey player, or potentially there is a script showing them the actual location. I would say Googling is obviously not a factor here. Scripting though, I would say insufficient evidence. There's definitely a possibility. I would have to see more rounds here to actually decide on this one. I think maybe I could even be tempted by guilty here. Again, if there were only 2 options, I would probably still lean towards innocent until proven guilty with a round like this, but I think insufficient evidence is perfect for this one because it was a very quick guess and they didn't really use as much information as they could have, but you never know, it could have just been pre-multiplier. Let's head into this one. I think it's going to be the final round. Before we see anything here, we're in Russia, which means I'm expecting the pro player, if they are going to be a high-rated player like I think they might be, to check the antenna and to give a good look around here. So let's just see how quick they are. So the antenna, oh, okay, not looking around here. Bit of a slow start, but okay, they do check here. Taking a look around. This one definitely looks like where it is. So if they get super close here, that's not going to be too much of a surprise. It's not a particularly hard round. They go Moscow. Okay, yeah, there's nothing illegitimate about this one at all. I'm just going to say not guilty. I would like to see more potentially, but at a 1300 rated plus level, that is the exact standard coverage you get around there. I just have to say it, not guilty here, guys. So there we go. Let me know what you thought of this one, guys. In the previous episodes of this, we got many more cheaters and many more sus players. So there's been a change in the algorithm, but hopefully you learned a little bit about Geoguessr throughout the video anyway. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. I've been Zigzag, and goodbye.